I am joining you today not from my usual location. I'm in a hotel room in Florida, and unfortunately, it's not super sunny outside, but some very necessary time spent focusing on my business. So, tonight is part two in the Owner's Mindset series. Okay, so in this second part, we're going to be digging into is essentially the whole attitude and concept of I go farther with a team than I do alone. Okay, I go farther with a team than I do solo. When you think about that attitude of I go farther with a team than solo, would you say that that's an attitude that you have right now? If so, drop a yes. Would you say it's an attitude you don't want to be bothered with? Because some people don't. So if so, drop a no. And if it's one that you want to work towards, just kind of make a note, working on it. Okay? And if it's one you need to work on, just drop a need to work on it or work on it. Okay, so let's get into one of the very first points. When we talk about ownership in this series, I'm always talking about either owning your time, your talent, or your identity. And in last week's series, I talked a lot about money, so that owning the creation of your income. So today, I'm going to talk about that ownership from the standpoint of time, talent, and income. The first one, when we talk about time, I think everybody knows we do only get 24 hours, right? We only get 24 hours. Everybody's got the same 24 hours. So the only way you're going to be able to really get more of that, right? Go farther, so to speak, is a number of ways. The first way, of course, if you simplify things and automate things, that's one way to create time. Another time is if you can do things in parallel. So at one point we talked about maybe you are doing the dishes and listening to a course or something along those lines. But then the other option is with other humans, right? You get time by leveraging other humans. So when we talk about that going farther with a team than solo, that's one of the ways we can gain time. Utilize teammates and other humans. Now, these other couple points, they're all just going to build on each other. I asked the question, what would your ideal team size look like? Or how many people might you bring along in your team? If you have thought about your team and your ideal team size. So now thinking about that, we talked about time, right? So time, and one of the ways that we're going to take ownership of that and go farther is with humans. Now the second piece, let's talk a little bit about talent. So talent is super, super, super important. And when we talk about going farther in our business, one of the key things that will be important is, do we have the right talent, and the right talent that is capable of doing the things that we need to do? Because if we have capable talent, we're then able to, especially as you are new in your business where you're doing everything, you're likely doing every single thing. And maybe you've got a VA, or maybe you've brought on some other people, but the likelihood is you're doing mostly everything. When you can start to bring on talent that rises to the level of you, and yes, it is possible. It is also necessary if you want to grow. But when you can bring in that right level of talent, you begin to be able to go farther. So here we see it show up again. I can go farther with a team, capable talent, than just me and me alone. And obviously that builds on the time concept. Now, this last one is going to be income. And so before I jump into income, so typically I'm on here for about 20 minutes just to give you some value that you should be able to carry through to begin to work on and chew on as you go about your business or your plan to exit corporate. So everything that you hear me say, internalize it. It may not be something that you can use at the moment in your business, but one of the freebies that I'm going to give you today is something that you can use right now. I don't care where you are in your business, even if you haven't exactly started it. And in fact, let me give that to you right now so that you have it. And some of you may have seen this, but I created a quick video guide on creating your team for right now where you are. I don't care where you are in your business, even if you're at the starting line, there is some importance in creating a team. So if you want to grab that, you can grab it at createyourteam.com. www.gr8.com. So you can grab that there to be able to get yourself a solid start on a team for where you are right now. Okay. And the next thing that I want to jump into before I get into the income piece, last thing. So as I had promised on a couple of lives now, I have put out, and you will see in the announcement section, that there are 4 different opportunities. So I will go ahead and do a 2-hour workshop, threw out some topics out there. If you have not voted on that poll, there's some topics and price points. If you have not voted on that poll, go ahead and do it, because I do plan to close that off at the end of this week. So the winning one wins. Okay, so make sure you go ahead and do that. All right, so let's jump into the last thing. So now income. All right, income. Everybody loves talking about income. I love talking about income. Everybody loves talking about money. I enjoy talking about money. The more we make, the more good we can do, right? So let's look at the paths to get there. Now, when we talk about income, with more time, right? When you can create more time for yourself, generally, if I've got more time and I've got the right talent in place, I can create more income. Those things just kind of compound on each other, which is why I went to it in that specific order. So when we're thinking about income for you, knowing that I've got to get time, I've got to have good talent, I need to think about what my team is. And if I can get those things in place, and that's not to say that's something that happens overnight, because it does not, right? It happens over time. And especially if you want it to happen profitably, it also happens over time. So when you can get those things in place and you have that freedom, right, or you've got that income piece under control, leveraging others, you also begin to bring that freedom in. And that's something that everybody is after, right? When you're leaving corporate, you don't necessarily want to create another job for yourself. You'd like to be able to create a business, and that comes with the growth of a team as opposed to taking a fully solo path. Deciding or determining when to bring in people, whether it's a virtual assistant or bookkeeper or something along those lines. So here's my advice on that. When it comes to starting to bring in people, one of the things that you want to think about is, and there's a couple levels of criteria in this, but the first one, what's taking the most time from you? All right. The most time from you that also is not a revenue generating activity. Now you have to be careful with this, because I don't say that to say, all right, everything that's taking a lot of time, just go and hire somebody to do it. Because you want to make sure that whatever it is that's in this bucket of it's taking a lot of time for me, you want to make sure that it is worth it. So do these things that are taking a lot of time, do they contribute to me getting to the revenue generating activity, right? If that answer is yes, then okay, how do we hire on a VA or whatever you need to be able to soak up some of that space so that you can create time, especially early in the business, to focus on revenue generating activity. That is the most important thing when your business is new. So one other thing that I wanted to mention on that, and it just went right out of my head, but it's very important for you. When you're talking about revenue generating activity, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, what I'm talking about there are literally, whether it's you are on a sales call or you are doing some prospecting with someone, those are considered revenue generating activities. And I'll give you an example of some of the things that you can let go of in my own business. So today, I don't do any posting. I don't personally do any posting on social media. I also don't necessarily lay out, okay, here's what the images look like, here's what the cover art looks for the podcast. I don't do any of that. While that is great and it does trickles down to revenue generating activity. Obviously, the more people see the value that I provide, okay, awesome, great, they come into my world. However, that's not necessarily, something that I need to be in that's directly tied to money coming in the door. So I have somebody on my team, CJ, who's amazing. And for those of you that are in the Finding Freedom Accelerator, you've probably had some touch with CJ. But that's what I mean about getting a team in place that can take up the things that take time, but they still do trickle into revenue generation, but they're not those direct, solid activities. So those are the places that I would start first. Okay? So that is essentially it for today. I hope that you take this if you want to, again, get started on your own team from a very simplistic standpoint. Do not feel like, oh, well, I need to be making, over $10,000 a month before I can bring on a team. No, that's not true. Sometimes you need to bring in a team to help give you the space, even in your everyday life, so that you can work on your business. So go to createyourteam.gr8.com if you want to grab that free video guide that I walk you through. So have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day and evening, and I will talk to you all again very, very soon. See you later.